Do you know of any local used car dealers that have gone under due to inability to get trade-ins to sell from auction and getting eaten up by floor plans?
I don't know any that have gone under because of not being able to get inventory. I've known a couple to go under because the market's just too hard. One specifically I know of is he was on a floor plan and it just got to be to the point where he was having to pay too much. And then he would have to mark his cars up so much to make a profit to also cover his floor plan fees. He was just pricing himself out of the market because he had so much expense because of his floor plan. And I've seen a lot of dealers actually close up shop in the last 12 months. And I'm assuming probably a similar case with the ones that have closed up, that they're going into this situation where, okay, they have this floor plan. If they don't sell that car within 30 days, if they don't sell that car within 60 days, then they get to a point where they're going to have too much money in it and they've got to get rid of it as quickly as possible. And quickly as possible means taking it to the auction and dumping it. And when an independent dealer takes a car to the auction, it brings way, way, way less money than what a franchise dealer can get for it. Now I'll explain why. When I go to an auction and I'm looking at cars, I always want to look for franchise dealers and not independent dealers when I'm trying to buy a car, because I know that franchise dealer, the reason that they're bringing a car to auction is because it was a trade-in, and that car got traded in not necessarily because there was something wrong with it. It's because that consumer wanted to upgrade their car. So they could be trading in a perfectly sound, safe, reliable car to the auction, and that's what I want to buy. But on the inverse side of that, if I see an independent dealer name on a car, I don't even look at it, because what the story is on that vehicle is that a dealer like me bought that car. If that car was any good and they could sell it on their lot, they're not sending it to auction because they can get more money for it if they're putting it on their lot to retail. So there's something greatly wrong with that car. There's something ugly about it, that there's some reason why that car would not sell on their lot, so they're dumping it at auction. That's how every other dealer thinks. So even if that car is perfect, I'm looking at that vehicle and seeing that it's got an independent sign on it saying an independent dealer selling it. And all these other things are going into my brain that's like, okay, there's something wrong. There's a reason why that car is here and it wasn't selling on their lot. And I'm just not going to bid on it. So when you do that, when you see that, and all these other dealers know the same thing that I know, it takes bidders out of the system for that particular car. So that car is going to bring way less money than these franchise dealer cars. And that's why I'm telling you, when these dealers that can't sell their cars off their lot, especially if they're small independent dealers, if they need to raise cash really, really quickly, if they dump it to auction, it's not going to bring any money. So they might have paid $10,000 for this car at auction the first time. They put some money into it, probably getting it ready to sell, and now they need to raise cash. So they send it to the auction, and that car's only going to bring $5,000-$6,000. It's that much of a difference of what an independent dealer can get for a car and what a franchise dealer can get for a car. So if they only get $6,000 out of that car, there's a $4,000 difference of what they owe their floor plan company. And like I was saying earlier, a lot of these dealers, they have $0 to their name and they're living by leverage. And if they got to come up with that $4,000 difference, then a lot of times they can't do it. So what will happen in that case is their floor plan companies will call a lot of the loans, and some of that money could have already been spent. And the floor plan companies, what they'll do is they'll go and get these cars and they will liquidate these dealers' inventory. They'll take them to auction. They'll dump them. And just like in the case of that other car I was talking to you about, these cars are not going to bring hardly any money. So now this dealer is upside down. It could be $20,000 on their floor plan, and they got to come up with that money. And that's not money that they had to begin with. So in those cases, the floor plans greatly get decreased, their lines of credit, or they can lose their floor plan altogether. And when they do that, they can't just go and get another floor plan. If they do, it's going to be some crazy rate, something that's just unaffordable, or it makes no sense for them to have it to be in this business. And then, so they basically have no availability for this credit. They have no money to buy inventory. And when you get to that point and you're a car dealer, if you can't buy cars, you can't sell cars. If you can't sell cars, you can't make money. If you can't make money, what's the point of even being in business? And that's how you'll see a lot of these car dealers close up shop. And it's going to be floor plan driven and bad decision driven and over leverage driven. And that's That's what happens in a lot of these cases, at least what we've seen in the last 12 to 18 months, because credit was available, interest rates were good, cars were too high, but it didn't matter because everybody was buying. And now you're taking demand out of the system. Now interest rates are going up. Now credit's getting tighter. And that's just a setup for disaster for a lot of these dealers.
Rambler asked, how old is too old for a car? Is a car in the 2000s age
None.
20?
No, there's no too old for a car.
Or we could read the question.
We could read the question.
Or 1990s, age 30, still a viable choice. What parts of a car age out?
I would think early 1990s is probably where you're going to get into, that you can go back and still have like airbags and the right kind of seatbelts and stuff like that. Cause I want you to be safe more than anything else. So, early 1990s, 93, 94, 95, somewhere around there is probably where my cutoff would be. But, look at the safety, because there's going to be different kinds of safety features that were added along the years. And I definitely want you to have airbags. I want you to have power steering. I want you to have the right kind of seatbelts. So look at safety more than I would look at anything else when you're looking at older vehicles. So you might be watching this and not even know this, but this is a brand new channel. So if you could do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, it would really, really help me out.
What's the average price? And I would assume wholesale and retail, if you can, for Honda and Toyota with 175 to 250,000 miles, and assuming like a sedan, like a Camry and a Civic or something.
So I'm going to guess on that type of mileage, we're going to look at something that's anywhere from probably 2005 up to 2010-ish. So there's a big range there with that many miles. I would assume let's go 2005 Camry, because I know that something like that with 175,000 miles. That's going to bring where I am probably $3,500 to $4,000, $3,500 to $4,000 at the auction. So that's going to retail somewhere probably around $6,000 on most lots. At our lot, if we buy something like that and we're paying $3,500 for it, we're going to sell it probably for right at $5,000, because after we put fees and do a little bit of repair work on it, we're probably in it $3,800 to $4,000, and we want to make, I think our average is somewhere around like $1,100 per car. So that's what we do at our lot, but most other dealers, they'll charge more than what we do. So you probably add an extra $1,000 for what a normal dealer would do. So $6,000 is probably low end for the 175,000 mileage car that you're looking at. If you get up to 250,000, you can probably take another $1,000 off for every 50,000 miles you add, or probably another $500 off for every year that you're going to add, either going up or going down. And that would be my estimate. It's all vehicle specific, because you're going to have some vehicles, some Toyota Camrys that are 2005, 175,000 miles that look like absolute trash. And then you're going to have some that look like they're brand new. And those vehicles can have a difference in like $4,000 to $5,000 just because of how they're taken care of. If they got dents, dings, if the seats are ripped up, if it's been smoked in, if it's got mold, if it's got rust, if it's got mechanical issues. It's so hard for me to actually give an estimate on a vehicle over YouTube when I'm just getting, I know people want to know how much a specific vehicle costs. And when you're talking about used vehicles, it's very hard for me to give any kind of answer, because every vehicle is so specific to how it was maintained and how the condition of it right now.
Okay. And I wanted to add in one thing. So there, like in areas like the Rust Belt, does that just totally blow that out of the water?
Yeah, so if you're in the Northeast, if you're somewhere that's got a lot of rust, these kind of cars probably don't exist. So if you're looking at something that's 10 years or older and it's got over 150,000 miles, that frame's already started to disintegrate. You'll see us buy stuff that's 10, 15, 20 years old and it's got 200,000 miles, and we'll buy that stuff all day long because I'm in a place in North Carolina that doesn't get any rust. Now, we still check for when it's higher mileage stuff, if it's got rust or not, but we can crawl under something that's 20 years old, it's got 200,000 miles, and the frame can still look brand new. So we're able to buy vehicles like that and still that they're safe, and if they've been maintained and there's nothing majorly wrong with them, those vehicles will still last a very, very long time. And that's why a dealership like me, I feel like we're able to exist in this niche because of a big location of where we are, a big part of the location that where we are, because there's no rust, and that's something that's unique to us. And you're going to find other pockets in the country that are like that, but you're also going to find these pockets across the country where there's just tons of rust, and you're not going to be able to buy vehicles like what I sell where you are, because they're just not going to exist. They've already disintegrated. They're already in the junkyard.
What are your thoughts on Mazda, sir?
I like Mazda. So we do buy a lot of Mazdas. We buy a lot of Mazda 6s, a lot of Mazda 3s. We bought a lot of the Mazda Tributes. They're basically the same thing as a Ford Escape. Yeah, they're I will say reliability wise, they're not going to be as good as the Toyotas. They're not going to be as good as the Hondas. But you're also going to pay a less amount, a cheaper amount, a fewer amount.
I think you're getting worse as time
I'm
goes
getting worse
by.
as time goes by. You're going to pay less for a Mazda than you're going to pay for a Toyota. What I do know is like the brand new ones. I've sat in a few of them, and they're super nice. And I know that you can get the Mazdas cheaper right now than you can get the Toyotas and the Hondas. And as far as availability, you have more availability on the Mazdas, so that's probably a reason for being able to find them a little bit cheaper. And also, they're going to be less add-ons. There are going to be more incentives that come out, and better rates that you get, special interest rates through these Mazda dealers than you're going to be able to get through Toyota and Honda, because Toyota and Honda still, even though we're showing these videos where the lots are starting to load back up, even on Toyota and Honda, they still have some production issues getting to actual dealers, where Mazda's not going to have that. So that's what you'll have to decide if you're going to look for a new vehicle right now. But if you're looking for used, Mazdas are fine. Just I would prefer Toyota or Honda.